Welcome to another clip in the restoration of my 68 911. First thing I've got to say is that this clip includes the use of a stroboscopic timing light, and we do get quite close to the source of the strobe, so if you're affected by flashing lights, that sort of thing, it's probably wise to take care as you watch this film. Now, I wanted to have the engine commissioned properly, and I asked Nick Fulljames, the engine builder, to come to my workshop and do the necessary adjustments to the timing and to the carburetor, the running mixtures, to make sure that the engine is running perfectly okay. And it's also very useful for an expert like him just to go around the engine and check there's no unwanted oil leaks or anything that's untoward. So what follows now is over-the-shoulder film clip of Nick at work. So after that run, you decided to give the distributor a little bit of a tweak.
Yes, yeah, it's a juggling act between getting the ignition right at tick over,
yeah,
and then just balancing all the carburetors up, making sure those are right. At the moment, it seems to be hanging slightly. If you rev it, the rev should cut down immediately. What that means is the butterflies are slightly open, so we're trying to get the idle working on the idle tract, on the idle screws on the side of the carburetors.
yeah.
because at the moment what happens is the butterflies are slightly open and it's working off the progression jets, and so it's drawing fuel in off the progression jets and not shutting down properly onto the idle jets. So we just got to have to juggle around. Because the engine is slightly higher compression than standard, we might end up having to change the jetting, the idle jetting, basically to get it so it shuts down properly on the idle side. Because you might find you can get the butterfly shut, but then there's not enough fuel going through on the idle track to actually make the carburetors work properly at the idle speed. Or we'll have to get jets in to do that, but that's just sort of rolling road stuff as well, so that we can just make sure it's fueling correctly all the way through the range, off of the idle into progression and then onto the main jets. That's the way the carburetors basically work. It's all progressive. So it's just a juggling act at the moment, just balancing everything up nicely, and just getting it so it's drivable really, so we can get some miles under our belt and start settling it in.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah. The handheld there that you had, the little the strobe, that was showing RPM.
Yeah, we use that for just because obviously you can't see you can see the rev counter, but only just through the seats. But yeah, I use that basically just so we can see the RPM and you can just keep checking ignition timing.
Right.
It's advancing properly. It's getting all the way around, so that's really good, and it's nice and stable at tick over as well. So we're getting so that basically means the advanced retard springs on the bob weights haven't slackened off, which is usually what happens. Sometimes you end up with a scatter, where you'll find the marks on the pulley will basically, when you're looking through the strobe, will just basically scatter backwards and forwards, and you don't get a nice positive thing. That usually is the advanced retard weights or advanced retards failing on the distributor.
Right.
But that seems to be okay, so that's good news.
And what was that, the meter that you were putting on the induction stacks?
That's just a vacuum gauge basically. We just basically balance everything up, just make sure everything's correct. When we build the engines, we set all the geometry on these lengths, which is quite important, because if they're different lengths, the geometry will be slightly different, so when you get to full throttle it'll be slightly open more than one side. So it's important those are balanced up properly, and obviously you make sure you just run through, just do a nice check to make sure each one's pulling the same amount as well on idle, and then just bring the revs up so it's off the idle track once again, the butterflies are open. That's more of an accurate setting then, that's basically what you want to see, is just run through all those and just make sure you're exactly the same all the way through.
That's what you're looking for, balance really.
That's right. This one's slightly down at the back, but I think that's an adjustment on the carburetors. When the carburetors were sent away to be reconditioned, that just wants a slight adjustment, just open slightly, but it's only one out at the moment, so it's not a major problem. So it's not going to stop you from sort of settling it all in and getting it running.
Excellent.
And bedding it in. So,
okay,
right, fire it back up again.
what sort of idle speed would you normally set the engine to?
Between 8 and 900 usually. Probably what we have to do now is the idle jets. It's just not getting enough fuel in at idle.
Ah, right.
So we'll have to order some jets in and probably go up a size or go up half a size on the idle jets. It's probably got 55s in it, or we want to go to 60, or it's got 50s and we need to go to 55s. So that's probably the next thing. So if we switch it off now, we can just check what sizes they are.
One of the other little things that we picked up was that the throttle lever was slightly holding the button right open, so that it was difficult to set the idle speed. So we lengthened the throttle rod slightly at where it comes into the engine compartment, and that has allowed the engine to pull back to idle in a normal way. So that's the job's done for the time being. We're a bit stuck in the sense that we need to change. We've got 55 idle jets in the carbs at the moment, and we need to just up them to 60s. And but unfortunately, we don't have them to hand. So we're going to leave the car as it is at the moment and get those on order. But other than that, Nick's sorted out the timing, needed to be just set at the right levels, and he's also played with the idle speed settings as well and made sure everything else is working okay. Just to comment on the value of having an experienced engine builder like Nick available to do this type of work, commissioning work. It's pretty obvious, probably just from watching him working here, is that he A, has the right tools, and B, has the experience to know immediately what is wrong with the engine when it's idling and when it's revving. Doing that sort of work yourself, it would be a hit and miss process and take far longer than is possible, and probably you might not even hit it at all. So I'm quite pleased with the way we've managed to commission the engine now in the space of probably under an hour. The next step is to get these jets in, and then I'll drive it up to the rolling road where we can fully set up the carbs and get the engine running really sweetly. But until then, that's it for now, and hope you found this clip useful.